We've milked that joke plenty, right? I don't think we're gonna do that again. Or are we?
Justice!
Gentleness!
Inventory!
Constitutional right!
Accounts receivable!
Depreciation expense!
This is for the best of times later. Black Clouds and Silver Linings is the 10th studio album from Dream Theater. This is the final album to feature Mike Portnoy. After deciding we should make sure that, just in case they by chance have a more successful career post Dream Theater than I do, we can't have that. So you guys just like don't do anything and I'll see you in 10 years.
I think it's pretty rude of the other members not to just put their entire lives on hold for him. I think they should have just done what he asked. I don't think it's too much to ask.
While Dream Theater always puts out a diverse track list on every album, I think this one really exemplifies that, with different sounds ranging from the really heavy stuff to the really dreamy white girl like soundscape music.
This was a heavier album for them, which, I mean, we did Train of Thought, but this one still brought some of the heaviest stuff I've heard from them because of the imagery and words that they were trying to portray on this album.
I want to run a little experiment with the Dream Theater community here. So yes. In our Guess the Song in 1 Second video, and just out of curiosity, because I know Dream Theater has a huge worldwide fan base, so out of curiosity, I wanted to see how far it stretches. So I asked you to put in the comments where you're from and how you got into Dream Theater, and we got an overwhelmingly positive response. I thought I'd do something cool with that, so I've created a map of pale blue dots. Everyone who wrote in, I've placed you in your spot as specific as you've told me. We've got responses from almost every corner of the world, which is really awesome to see. Now I'm asking you the same question. If you want to be featured on the map, let us know where you're from and tell us how you got into Dream Theater and you will be on there. We're gonna need to put a lot of people on there, so we made the dots pretty small, but you can actually zoom in and your name will be on that dot, so it's like a cool interactive map, and you will be able to see it on our subreddit when you zoom in, hopefully, and also we'll show each independent region as we did in this video on our next video coming up.
Definitely very excited to see the interaction of all the fans. It's really interesting to connect with people, so definitely stay tuned.
Without further, Bovine Excrement, A Nightmare to Remember. As Iron Maiden does, and Rush does, and so many other great bands tell stories with their songs. Those other bands like to take from literature. Dream Theater here, especially on this album, likes to take from personal experience, and I think that's really, really cool because it's a little bit more relatable for the listener.
Use of sound bites from the storm, sirens from the ambulance, the hospital. That was a really cool attention to detail that they added into this.
Mike Portnoy just stomping the shit out of the double bass drum. I've never heard anything like that in my life. Jordan's futuristic but gritty keyboard patch also goes really, really nicely with it for the lead.
John's guitar patch was orgasmic for this song. I don't know if he's known for it, but at least he always brings different sounds to his guitar.
Of course, that's the chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
He brings another delicious chocolate cake to this album. And I also like he makes his guitar have a seizure during his guitar solo.
The lyrics, beautiful agony, wonderful misery, really capture the feeling of being drugged in the hospital. I noticed a common theme on the album, and that's when there's a nice instrumental section, Jordan looks at it and says, it must be time to endurance test my keyboard. I do love the section though where he picks up the melody from the chorus, bringing back that futuristic gritty lead from the beginning. Mike Portnoy securing the Cookie Monster feature. It's not even something that like warrants death metal vocals. He's talking about the grace of God and everyone surviving being okay. Part of the reason I love Stream of Consciousness is exactly what they do here. They close the song the same way they start, which in times like this is even better than, I think, bringing in a new outro. So I give this one an 8.
I give this one an 8 as well.
One of the most slept on Dream Theater tracks. Now I may say that a lot, but here I know exactly why it's the most slept on. This genuinely would be another Pull Me Under radio hit if not for a very unfortunate instrumental break.
Yes sir. It has one of the greatest guitar patches I've ever heard.
It has a slower approach but with a gritty feel with a very nice combo. DT is not known for its spectacular music videos. I mean, just look at the Silent Man music video, Jesus Christ. This video, along with The Looking Glass, are two of their greatest ones. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. And then we have the instrumental bridge. Not only did Jordan decide to product test his keyboard, it sounded like he was angry that it was still working, so he went into the utility closet, grabbed a sledgehammer, and just fucking destroyed that shit.
I have no words. I don't know what he was going for on there. I mean, he's one of the greatest musicians of all time. I don't know. Maybe he just was like, I'm just gonna fuck with people and play this.
There wasn't any composition. It wasn't it was like. He was not the only guilty party, though. Petrucci threw some nonsense in there, too. They probably figured no one would be listening after that, so they kind of just, like, slapped the hook onto the back end and called that an outro. It had so much potential. And it had so much potential that I can't give it any lower than a 7.
Oh, I gave it a 7 also.
Haters, stay the fuck back. This song, the simple but creative acoustic riff, Myung keeping it steady with the perfect tone. You can really hear him here.
Yes.
You gotta give it to him here.
I'm very
Portnoy
grateful.
getting complex, but he's able to match the softness of the song at the same time. And the big standout here to me is James. We know he can do the big opera vocals, we know he can get gritty, and he showed the third dimension of the singer-songwriter style here.
I think it's also funny, this song's mainly about writer's block, and it comes off as if you just watched your whole family die. The song itself is just so well done. Maybe in addition to the Depression playlist, I don't know.
This is on here twice. 2 versions are on here.
Oh, perfect.
I can kind of see why this song gets a little bit of hate. The guitar in some sections sounds like it could have been on a Bon Jovi radio hit from 86. It still really keeps out all the cringe parts of like an 80s rock ballad from that era to build a powerful but somber feel so well. I give it an 8.
A 7.
I've never been a fan of screamo or death metal, but if there is a song that warrants that, I think it's this song. So it might be a good idea to get someone who can actually sing them for the track.
Justice!
Not only does he sound like the Cookie Monster, he's screaming about justice, freedom, kindness, self-restraint, and accounting.
Inventory analysis. I think the worst part is the intro is so hype. It makes me feel like I'm going to start a siege and I'm going to kill like 100 people. Just when you thought it couldn't get any heavier, it gets faster and even better. It's kind of like you're going up a roller coaster and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, like here it comes. This is great.
And then they forgot to trim the branches that are next to the tree on the roller coaster and you get smashed in the face like 8 times before you're going up
exactly.
There. Yeah. This is the conclusion to the Mike Portnoy 12-step suite. It's aggressive, it has powerful flair, and it's able to reprise the other songs without sounding disjointed at all. It's just too bad that almost everyone will remember the song just for the Cookie Monster vocals.
Exactly.
That's why I give it a 7.5. Mike Portnoy said it needed some grit to it, so he did that.
I'd have to give it a 7.
Here we go.
Get the
I have this
tissues
nearby. All right. There are plenty of moody and emotional songs in Dream Theater's discography, but there aren't many that hit home as hard as this one. This is about the passing of Mike Portnoy's father during the production of this album. His father is actually the one that named Dream Theater when they had to change from Yetzi Jam, and he was very clearly an important part of Mike's life. What impressed me the most is the lyricism. He's able to paint a beautiful picture of their relationship with his words.
Great addition to the Depression playlist. I was surprised to see how well he was able to capture the sad feeling and tone. And then I also like how it kind of picks up to lighten the mood a little bit. Since this was his last edition with them, I think it was very good that they were able to work with him to make this song.
The line that hits home for me is a young boy and his father, an idol and best friend. Here we go. They're gonna Fantano me.
Men have feelings too.
Most people who have good relationships with their father, I know we both do, can really relate to this song, and I think Mike captured it perfectly. He puts it into words what other people might have a hard time doing.
The soft violins and acoustics set the tone for the somber theme. When it kicks into the heavier part, when Petrucci decides to cover Spirit of the Radio in the middle of the song, it becomes more upbeat, but the lyrics just keep tugging on the heartstrings. He sums up the feeling of losing a close family member well too. You don't really even want to think about it, but eventually the call is going to come like it does for everyone. People left behind just naturally think about the best of times and everything that they want to share with them but can't.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Holy crap.
Thank you. I bow. This is not one I listen to frequently, but I don't know why. So I give it an 8.
Give it a 7.5.
Not enough people recognize this song for what it is. The acoustic riff to start off this behemoth is so elegant. The emotion and elegance continues with the electric solo with the harmonizing guitars. And the Count was pretty much like, hi, nice to meet you. My brother's a serial killer. Then he describes the scenery, the situation really well. And then Mike Portnoy says, you know what? You know what this really majestic, melody-driven song needs?
More Cookie Monster vocals!
Why wouldn't anybody else in the band say, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't put that on here? Shit, alright. I mean, we don't want to say no, so I guess we'll just put it on there. Did he make it publicly known that was his last album?
No, he said he didn't know it was his last album, but it certainly sounds like it. Let me just take a shit on every song on this album, and then I'll just run. Outside of the storytelling, each verse is paired with some really nice instrumental patches, specifically Jordan's work, as Petrucci switches into a more rhythm roll at sections, while they bring it down to the majestic white girl soundscape music section. It almost feels like you're traveling into Petrucci's head while he's contemplating his whole life and what we heard on the hook before.
How he switches to the acoustic guitar. I thought it was a new song for a second. One of my favorite parts, which I think is excellent, the middle piece where John and Myung play the same riff together. That's awesome. That shows cool bond between them as friends and as musicians, and it shows skill.
The shift to the acoustic in the piano section was a great canvas for James to really describe that feeling that Petrucci was having and how he opened up to the Count. The instrumental accompaniment and the way they delivered the story makes this genuinely one of their best songs. I gave it a 9.
What a way to end it, with an explosion of proud. It is definitely higher up on the list of songs that they have created. Give it an 8.
Overall, this is a very overlooked album. Even though the songs on here are very well known, no one really takes the time to really appreciate it as a whole. Very fitting departure album for Portnoy.
Definitely one of their more heavier albums, filled with personal experiences from Mike and John. I feel as if I really did experience these events because of how masterfully portrayed they were.
Sandwiched between the two massive epics, there's still plenty of fantastic moments, and even songs on here that definitely are watered down by some of the Cookie Monster vocals. They still all have their moments. So I give this one an 8.
7.5.